A very good morning, students. So today's topic is describing. So I think you're very much familiar in describing things, describing objects, places, and events. Okay. So normally, in school days also we go and describe about what exactly has teacher dressed up like, many things, events, what exactly happened in your house. You'll be describing it to your friends. So describing is also one of the activity where the kind of language, the kind of vocabulary what you use. Okay, so today we are concentrating on how do we describe objects, how do you describe places, how do you describe events, that is nothing but celebrations. Okay, so quickly we'll move ahead describing about objects. So when you see a particular object, students, what exactly you describe? You describe its parts, its features, how exactly the change takes place. Okay, so that can be explained step by step or stage by stage. So you should know it. Like when you're talking about a fan, how exactly it works, what are the procedures, how exactly the minute you on the switch, what exactly happens, how exactly it rotates. Now all this is like you can go on in a process stage by stage explaining about the functioning of the fan, about the functioning of fridge. Okay, how exactly it looks like, what are its features, how exactly it functions. So step by step you describe about its object, describe about that particular object. Okay. Now students, when you're explaining, do not use abstract words much, do not use vague words, use simple terms to explain that particular object. It should be very clear, very precise. Don't beat around the bush to explain about that particular object. Okay, so when you're explaining about its mechanism and its process, always use passive voice. You can also use sequential markers like initially, in the beginning, firstly, secondly, lastly, finally. So there'll be some kind of coherence when you're talking about or explaining about that particular object. Okay, always we'll be explaining the objects in simple present tense. So these are the main points which we so you should be able to know how to arrange that particular explanation in the chronological manner. That is like general to a particular. Okay, fine. Now when you're using adjectives when describing about that particular object, I gave you some examples here, rectangular, round, vowel shaped. Now there is a kind of language you use or vocabulary you use while describing about a particular object. You can quickly move your eyes. Now I gave an example called oven here, how exactly I described it. You can quickly move your eyes, read, go through it. You'll get an idea, students. So how step by step how it appears, how it works, what are the important spare parts, what are its features, explained, how I closed it. Okay, fine. So when I'm talking about objects, and it's not only about fan, fridge and all, certain things also come under objects like, monuments, structures, buildings, which are larger objects. So when you're describing about such objects, such monuments, the things to be remembered are the shape, how exactly it looks like, flat, tower shape, angular, what kind of material. When I talk about Taj Mahal, what kind of stone, it's like marble. So these things also important. The texture, it's rough or soft, the surface, it's glossy, it's transparent. Its features, like it's like totally covered. When you talk about Warangal, it's like temple, it's the pillars of temple. You talk about the pillar temple. So describing about its features, its details, what exactly is being carved on it, painting. So when you're talking about monuments and structure, you should talk about all these main aspects. So I think you had a clear idea how to write or how to describe about an object. Okay. Now quickly we'll move to describing places. Now when you describe places, you should talk about where it is. Talking about the location, what it is. You're describing which particular place. It's an area, it's a temple, it's a gallery, it's a museum, it's a lake. Be very clear about it, what it is. For example, if it's a historical place, you can talk about its its period, who built it, when it was built, before BC, after BC, AD. Okay, its structure and its present state. When you talk about Taj Mahal, how many years back, how many centuries back, and still it is in what condition, what precautionary measures being taken to preserve that marble. Okay, fine. If it is a town or a hill station, where it is situated, which particular state, which particular country, what it is known for, what is its importance, the kind of food. So everything you can, step by step describing about it. Okay. So quickly you can move your eyes. I just, wrote about a place here. So it's a jungle area somewhere in, Maharashtra. So you can go through it. How I wrote up, how I described about its location, it's like its present state, what is it famous for, where exactly it is located, what are the things found there. Okay. Now, when you're describing about places, the same thing like object, you need to use adjectives, and also we use prepositional phrases describing about the location. Now, here you can quickly go through these two examples where I really spoke about Jaipur, the climatic conditions about it using adjectives, and also about Bhopal, prepositional phrases describing about its location. Just quickly, it's a small paragraph, these things will help you when you're really describing what kind of adjectives I should use, prepositional phrases I should use, what I should talk about that particular place, how I need to start, how I need to close. Okay. Now, quickly we'll move to describing events. Now, when you're describing about a celebration or an event, I thought you can divide that into 4 paragraphs, where in the first paragraph we talk about, what kind of celebration or what kind of event it is, when it to happen, the time, day, place. The second paragraph talks about what kind of preparations you have done. You can talk about the costumes, how you dressed up yourself, or, what kind of dresses they wore that time, what kind of food is served, what kind of games are played. Okay. Now, third paragraph talks about, what happened during the celebration. See, when you're talking about something happened during that, there are boat races, for example, if you take Onam, the boat races. So what actually happens in that particular celebration or event, you can talk about it. In the last paragraph, how did you feel about that? How did you enjoy that boat race or something? Okay, so 99% you're describing about events or celebrations, you mostly write them in past tense. Okay, now one more thing you have to remember is, most of the times they ask you to talk about your personal experiences, your personal celebrations, what was your embarrassing moment or happiest moment. So it is always in first person point of view. What happened to you, you generally write, in past tense. But sometimes, you'll be observing and you'll be writing, in third person point of view. You're talking about Onam celebrations, about the boat race. Okay, so when exactly you're talking about personally about your situations or your happiness, it is always first person point of view. When you're talking generally about something else, it's like third person point of view. Okay, so I gave, roughly a particular describing an event about the Dragon Boat Race Festival, which is being celebrated in China. Okay, and before going ahead with that, an essay is when you really think about writing, describing events, 5 W's you should remember. What, who, where, when, and why. So these 5 W's will help you to write or describe about that particular event. Now, this is third person point of view, generally writing about the Dragon Boat Festival. You can just quickly read it, you'll understand. Third person. First person, you people are, gems in writing about your embarrassing moments or, happy moments, your birthday celebrations or whatever. I hope the session was helpful for you all, and in the next session I'll be giving exercises, how to describe, I'll be giving the objectives, 1 or 2, you'll have a choice, the same way describing about a particular place or describing about an event. Okay, so I hope you'll be using good vocabulary, simple vocabulary initially, chronologically following all the steps in writing. Okay, have a good day, students. Thank you.